Zautke. Welcome to another edition of the Traction Reaction podcast. I'm here with Eddie LePine. Eddie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Steve. How are you?
Excellent. Hey, I just want to say thank you to all of our viewers out there. Got a lot of hits on the last show with our 24-hour preview. Appreciate it. And all those that also subscribe to the Traction Reaction podcast. We certainly appreciate it. And we're back with another one. Eddie was at Daytona where qualifying for the Rolex 24 occurred. And a lot of storylines this weekend, Eddie. What's the one that kind of sticks out most for you?
Well, I think overall, too, I want to just comment on the attendance too. This is 25 years that I've been attending the Rolex 24-hour race, and just an amazing crowd. Uh, I mean, the excitement for the GTP class is just overwhelming, and we saw it there with very big crowd, and they're very gun ho about the race next weekend.
Yeah, and it was Tom Blomqvist who got the pole for the Meyer Shank Racing. Not too much of a surprise there with them being defending champions and that, but uh,
That was probably one of the hardest qualifyings I've done in my career because I didn't have a lap before that one lap. So the reference, I had to guess my references. Obviously the car's been working fantastic. To have that faith, enabled me to then just kind of just have that instinct. I drove on instinct now. I drove on a lot of instinct, and just relied a bit of some natural ability and talent that I got from my mum and dad.
Philippe Nasser in the Porsche, in the number 7 Porsche, was that a surprise for you?
Not really. I mean, we kind of knew that, with Penske and Porsche teaming up again and all the testing they've been doing, I was not surprised at all to see Felipe. I mean, Felipe and Nick Tandy were qualifying the cars. Nick had an issue and crashed, and Felipe just laid down a lap. And I think the whole thing is going to be the race and the preparation now. The pole is down. Tom Blomqvist and Meyer Shank, who won the championship last year, uh, they're looking good this week. And I think with the GTPs, I think we're gonna see there's going to be some issues with these new cars. There's just so many variables. As I've told you last week, when these new cars go on the track, every time the engineers are learning new things about what they need to do with the car for long runs. And I think what's going to happen next weekend with the 24-hour race, you can only do so much testing that when we get to race time, it's going to be totally different. And with the field of 61 cars, I think it's just going to make it even more interesting
Yeah,
overall.
it certainly will. It certainly will with and plus with the top 8 prototype cars only separated by 0.815 seconds. And then you had the issue with Tandy, of course. Yeah, the two Team Penske Porsche drivers were going at it hammer and nail, weren't they? And Tandy kind of pushed it a little bit too much. Kind of shows the internal I don't want to say the internal struggle, the one trying to best the other ones. Those are two drivers that really go at it, though, aren't they?
Well, Nick Tandy, and Felipe, they're both. I mean, when you put those two guys up against each other in qualifying, it's could be very interesting. And Nick's just trying to get as much out of the car as he could. I think, and it's going to happen. They got to find the limits of these cars for the race. But you knew qualifying. Everybody's like, well, it's a 24-hour race, and we got 24 hours. But when you put a race driver in a car and you give them the hammer and give them that power, and they want the pole, they want to have P1 because they went back to qualifying now on Sunday, so it gives the whole team a week to enjoy being on the pole. And Meyer Shank last year winning the championship and now opening this race with the pole, it motivates all the engineers and the mechanics that work night and day to make these cars, and it gives them this week just to enjoy this moment. And when the race comes, it's going to be a whole different thing.
It certainly does. And you had Ricky Taylor qualifying the number 10, Wayne Taylor Andretti prototype third, and then the '01, which I think will be eventually the one to look out for, Sebastian Bourdais qualifying or filling out the second row. And uh, I guess to me it was a bit of a surprise. You had veteran driver Ben Keating at 51 years old getting the pole in the LMP2 car. Was that a surprise to you?
Well, Ben is just, he's an incredible guy. I mean, he's very passionate, very supportive of IMSA, and he's been around. I think he's amazing. I mean, he's run in two different cars
Hmm.
and during a 12-hour race, and it's not a surprise. The guy's got a lot of good people behind him. He's got the best equipment, and it's not a surprise. The guy's good, and he's won a lot of races. And I think he's, it's going to be exciting to see him running too. I mean, he's a great guy too, as well.
Oh yeah, he's certainly a fan favorite, and also has a respect to a lot of the drivers in the paddock area. Of course, we have 61 cars in the race coming up for the Rolex 24, and GT cars are always a problem. Now, GT cars are race cars; they're quick cars. Sometimes you have drivers that may have that don't have the experience maybe of a Ben Keating or certainly a Ricky Taylor or Sebastian Bourdais, but that could actually be a pretty tricky situation with the weather cooling off race weekend too, possibly causing issues in those overnight sessions, aren't they?
I mean, every year this weather is just a roller coaster at this time of the year. And usually the weather's, I mean, it's not very predictable. And going to Daytona for 25 years, it can change I mean, we were there over the weekend. One minute it was like, it just felt cool from the ocean breeze. And then the next minute
Mhm.
you're taking your shirt off your sweatshirt off because you're sweating because it's 80 now. So I think that's a big factor always at Daytona for the 24-hour race. But you got a lot of, I mean, Joseph Newgarden and Scott McLaughlin are going to be racing, and it's good to see these guys crossing over and coming to this race, and they're really, really excited about it too, as well as Colton Herta is going to be running a GTP in the prototype, and he's actually listed in both cars. So
Hmm.
he'll be jumping back and forth from both cars in the BMW.
Yeah, speaking of BMW, that's just one of 18 manufacturers that are going to be running, taking laps at Daytona, coming up for the Rolex 24. And that is certainly impressive. You got Acura, Alfa Romeo, Aston Martin, Cadillac. Of course, Ferrari, we'll be talking more about them in a second here. Ford, Honda, Hyundai, Lamborghini, Lexus, Mazda, of course, with the always entertaining MX-5 Cup, McLaren, Mercedes, Porsche, and of course, Toyota. And what's your feedback there? What kind of feedback were you getting when you were there? The passion between the manufacturers, is any kind of one thing kind of sticks out, or any one manufacturer that it seems to be really pushing it this weekend or this year?
Well, I think they're all just at the limit. There's a lot of newer engineers, a lot of younger people involved in this.
Which is
Some of
good to
the
see.
You're seeing that in the last couple of years, with the pandemic, and now with this new configuration with GTP, it's very exciting, and you're seeing it in WEC and trying to join these two sanctioning bodies to finally unite after all these years and have that crossover, because a lot of these guys, even talking to Michael Andretti yesterday about wanting to go to Le Mans and want to go win that race. And Wayne Taylor especially wants to check that bucket list, and that's what you're seeing with the manufacturers are supporting this, and they want to be able to. It's the 100th anniversary or the 100th year. It's not the actual running,
Right.
but it's very exciting to see the manufacturers. And while we're on that, it's Ferrari. They tested for the first time today at Sebring with the 499 hypercar. And talk about exciting. I mean, that 50 years since they ran prototype in the main class. So they're looking forward to going to 24-hour Le Mans. and future racing over here as well. And they'll be running that car at Sebring in March at the WEC race, which is
Right.
in conjunction with the 12 hours of Sebring run by IMSA. So there's a lot going on, and it's really surprising that we've gotten, I mean, it's like every day there's just like new things popping up. And I think if you're a race fan and a road racing fan, and like most of these people that attend this, that drive these cars and are so passionate, I think you're not going to be disappointed this year. I mean, I think it's going to be the biggest 24-hour race in a long time with 61 cars.
Yeah, it certainly will be. And Ferrari, being involved once again with WEC, certainly, I mean, wherever they go, you got the Tifosi following, and it's always incredible to see them. And I saw that firsthand at Indianapolis a few years ago when the U.S. Grand Prix was being held there, and seeing that, every time they came out of the garage, just the cheering and everybody carrying on, it certainly energizes not only them, but I mean the whole crowd and the event itself. So we certainly welcome a marquee like Ferrari to in IMSA once again, especially with that hypercars. It would be exciting to see. Any predictions coming up for the weekend, Eddie?
I'll tell you, you can never count Roger Penske out in
Yeah.
Porsche, but it's going to be an uphill struggle. It really is. I
Well,
mean,
just think if they go out there and win that, if you're Acura or Cadillac, I mean, to be honest, that's a kick in the jibs, isn't it? For them to come out first race, boom, win the Rolex, you're thinking, oh boy, this could get ugly. So
well, I mean, it's yes, you're right about that, but with the new format and the new, I think anyone can win really. Um, but it's going to be who they're actually. This is very interesting because a lot of the teams are bringing extra guys, like from Michael Shank's IndyCar team,
mhm,
to just be stationary in the garages for stuff to happen during the
sure,
race.
sure, that
and
makes sense.
and
Yeah.
you're going to see staffs of people just waiting for a problem, because I think there's going to be a lot of service going on. And if there's multiple things happening, don't be surprised if you see an LMP2 car, running in the mix in the
Yeah.
podium and possibly moving forward and possibly winning. I mean,
Yeah.
this is why they run the race.
Right.
And you know, the thing is like last year and the years in past for Sebring, we called it a sprint race. Well, this is going to be a little different this year. It's going to be I mean, you have so many new cars with the GT3s and the GTPs. You're going to have issues, and it's going to be whoever has or whoever can handle those issues and stay on the track is going to win.
Yeah, I'm going over through the GT class here, the GT2 Pro and GTT, and Tony DeZino, friend of the show, of course, put this together, and I mean it is a stacked full just on the GT side with, of course, iconic names with Porsche and Corvette, and you got the the Corvette team, you got the FAF number 9 with their plaid, which is always a crowd favorite. You got, of course, the Vassar Sullivan next, Lexus, which is ready to bounce back, and the Rizzi Capizzione, and it's a stacked full field. I'm really looking forward to it, Eddie. We certainly appreciate you take time out. My pick is I'm going to go with the '01 car with Ganassi, and
Well, Ganassi's one of those other ones, just like Penske. They know how to win races,
yeah.
and they'll have their IndyCar staff there helping too. So I think we'll see, but I think you're not going to be disappointed this
Well,
weekend with Daytona.
you know me, I'm if I'm betting, I'm going with the '01 Cadillac led by Bourdais, but you can't count out Meyer Shank, and there's a lot of, and it's one of those that race is one of those where you can kind of change your allegiance as the team. If you see, because how many times have we seen somebody dominate and you have some problems, and then you wonder if that second or third place car can come and catch them while they're having issues in the pits. And I mean, if you think about the last few years, how many times this race you had the first three guys on the same lap at the end of 24 hours. It's incredible. So I'm looking forward to it. Especially for some of us living up north. We're a captive audience. It's a great way to start the racing season. I know the Chili Bowl, but the Rolex has been around since as long as I can remember as a kid. So for me, it's the real start of the racing season. I enjoy it. And Eddie, we appreciate it, and looking forward to hear from you after the race, and we'll see what happens.
Well, I'm looking forward to this weekend, and I'm looking forward and thank you very much out there for tuning in and subscribing. We really appreciate it. We love to do this.
Yeah, yeah. Once again, thanks to the listeners. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next time on the Traction Reaction Podcast.